Hello, trading is closed on October 25th, 2021. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, October 26th. Remember, I can be completely wrong. Any trade should be at your own risk. Let's review what we said. Look for the pattern with the early high. We got that. We said unless we gapped and promptly overtook this high, we should see lower prices regardless of where we close. We didn't overtake the high promptly. We did see lower prices, but that didn't require us to have a lower close. This is just a review of what we said. So as the early high pattern, tomorrow also has the early high. We had a very negative pattern on Friday. You always need confirmation on these things. We didn't get the confirmation. In fact, we traded over this high, which kills the pattern. Typically, when you get a negative pattern and it doesn't work, it tends to fail in grand style, but that doesn't require us to trade higher tomorrow, and we do have a lower target. Early on, we got a buy signal, which worked. There was an optional lower target, which printed. This rally said to be false gives us a target of 45.51.26, most likely to print by Wednesday's open. This drop here is said to be false. We had to trade a bit higher, and we did. Gapped up, hit higher highs, closed under all the highs. It's not good. Calls for lower prices unless we have a gap and promptly overtake this high. But this high. But that's entirely possible as futures are already up as I'm recording this. We said either we gap over these trend lines or else the trend line wins. Now this trend line is moving. We moved over it. We retraced to the trend line, and that's really all we have to do. This was the count we had. We had measuring brown A from its origin to its high. We had this nice target, but we've gone past that. Doesn't necessarily kill the idea because you can measure brown A from this low instead of from its origin. And if you measure from the low, you get a nice hit right on top here. Now, I don't think it's prudent to use this count, assume it has to be the right count, and say that ends the pattern. Other patterns could work too. It certainly isn't the only valid count. Just means if there is a correction here, you can explain it, and that's really all it means. Tomorrow's pattern has the early high. Futures are already up. All we have to do to keep everything intact and to have us get a failed lower target is to gap and promptly overtake these highs. And based on futures, that could easily happen. But if we don't, it's my call for tomorrow, 45.51.26. Tomorrow's pattern has the early high. We could gap down. There's a lower target. Unless we gap up smartly, it should print. It has until Wednesday morning to do it. Futures rally past the regular trading hours high soon after the close, so gapping up is quite possible. We gapped up at a higher high, closed under intraday highs. Either you gap and promptly overtake today's high or we see lower prices. It doesn't require us to close lower. Today's pattern is normally bullish. We didn't close near the high, But time doesn't run out until tomorrow's open. So if we promptly overtake today's high, that keeps the normally bullish pattern intact. But if we don't do that, pattern fails, and that should lead to a straight line drop. Regardless of what happens tomorrow, the market should trade higher for the rest of the year. We didn't break lower during the September-October period. Seasonality of November-December time frame works in the market's favor. The inability to break lower when you had a good setup works in the market's failure. We might not go a heck of a lot higher because on the monthly chart we have a combo sell signal, and the longer these things take to form, and this takes over a year, well over a year, the more significant it is. But this just means we're overbought. Doesn't mean we have to drop. You could just work out the overbought condition by consolidating and not going a heck of a lot higher. And that's what's happened. And of course, it could fail too. If it fails too, it leads to a huge rally. So we have a lower target. We have a negative pattern, but all we have to do is to gap and overtake these highs to kill the idea. Pattern has the early high. Futures are up. So gapping up is not ruled out and is entirely plausible, but we won't know that until tomorrow's open. In any event, if you're not playing this from day to day, I think by the end of the year we should be higher than we are now. And that's today's call.